Hi, good morning, folks. In this video, I'm going to go over what I believe in my lifetime are the 5 greatest goaltenders I've ever seen. Coming up. Okay, it's going to be a busy day with videos, so I just want to get on this, go right into it, and I figure top 5. I mean, I had a list of 12 here, to be honest, written out. I was going to do originally for another segment I did call the Dirty Dozen, but it'd be too long and dragged out. Let's just get to the top 5. And we'll take it from there. All right? So, if you hear that little one choking, that's my dog in here. She just woke up and she's excited to go out. So, I'm going to get on that in a few minutes. All right, number 5. I have got Marty Brader as my number 5 pick. Now, Marty Brader had, actually, I'm going to mark, also on the right, I'm going to mark some key things that he had in his career, that they all have had. You know, like these are things that of course, I took into consideration, in this list, because all right, so Marty Brader in his career, didn't put up his numbers as shutouts or anything, guys. It's because that can lie during the era, things like that. But these numbers don't lie. 2 Stanley Cups, 2 Vezinas, and 2 Conn Smythe, and he won it back to back. So that says a lot about Marty Brader in that era. And a little story about Marty Brader, and also, if I was to put an asterisk on here, the goalie that broke the barrier. He was the goalie, all right, that said no to the original 6, and the Philadelphia Flyers were the first expansion team to win the Stanley Cup against the mighty Bruins of '74. That should be remembered for sure as the number 1 thing, actually. And a little story about Marty Brader, and then I'm going to go on. My dad had a way with players. Now, you guys might have seen my other segments in my Sabres Chronicles. I mentioned this, but I want to mention it here for the folks that haven't heard this story. Now, my dad had a way with hockey players, okay? He used to somehow bring them home drunk. I don't know how he met, but he used to somehow do this. And he'd go out partying with the boys, and that's how it was back in the 70s. You know, you go out and you see the NHL players, you have a few beers with them, everybody's having a good time. Oh, let's go by your house, have a few more beer. This is how it used to be. And he brought Marty Brader home drunk to my house one day, okay? And my mom lost her mind. Tossed both, I guess she had it with my dad, and who knows what was going on. But she tossed them both out of there. So get the hell out. And so they both had to leave. And this is 2 years before he broke out on Philadelphia in the 1974 final. So it was like he was still a Leaf at the time. And just quite a story, you know. There's a few hockey stories I might mention eventually in a separate video, but that's one of them that have happened to me personally, you know, or my family, I should say. Hey, another one with John Beliveau, really nice one actually. I'll talk about some other time. All right, number 4. Number 4, I got Marty Brader. And no, he should not be any higher than this. To be honest, I had a hard time putting him in front of Marty Brader. I really did. Was he a great goalie? Yes. Did he have great defensemen in front of him? Yes. You know? So Marty Brader, 3 Stanley Cups, 4 Vezinas. And Hall of Fame career, definitely, no doubt about that. He had a great career. But way too often, you'll hear the argument Marty Brader is the greatest ever because of the amount of wins and all this in the NHL. But folks, wins are a team thing. I think we all know that. It's not a goalie thing, you know what I mean? So I don't put much weight into that. I put weight into these things. That's where I put weight into, you know? All right, number 3, but great career. He had a great career, regardless if he had Stevens and Niedermeyer in front of him his career. This man had a great career, no doubt. Absolutely. Ken Dryden, I got number 3. And I did fight to put him number 2. I really did. Gotta admit. He was part of that greatest team I believe ever assembled. And people can say what they want about that. Believe me, Ken Dryden played a role in much of that. Much of that. In those tight games, especially ask Bruin fans, I'll tell you. In those real tight playoff games where the Habs, it was questionable if they were going to pull it out, Dryden would up his game. He just would. And I'll tell you what, folks, when Dryden would have an off game, Bunny LaRocque would come in and just close the door anyway. God, that was a crazy team in the 70s. Unbelievable. And it just topped it off. They had one of the greatest goalies in NHL history in the nets. And at the time, he was probably the greatest goalie in NHL history at the time, you know? And, you know, he went on to pursue a career as a lawyer and as a writer. And, you know, he had these things going on besides his hockey career. And he took a whole season off and then came back. It's like, you know, it was weird right before their dynasty. And I remember that as a kid, thinking that would be the word in the town here in Montreal. Well, if Ken Dryden doesn't come back, what's going to happen? You know, he was that important of a piece. He was, of course. All right, number 2. This is where we'll get the big argument. I got Patrick Roy as number 2. Four Stanley Cups, 3 Vezinas, and 3 Conn Smythe. And I'll tell you what, those 3 Conn Smythe say a lot because they were with 2 different teams. You know what I mean? That says a lot. Now, was he as dominant in the playoffs as Bernie Parra? No. No, he was not. He was great in the playoffs. He was awesome. Bernie Parra was way more dominant in those two Conn Smythes. He just was. Anybody that didn't see this, then please don't argue. If you didn't see it, you can't say, no, he wasn't. Well, did you see it? Because you had to have seen it with your eyes to get my argument on this. He was on an expansion team. He was on an established team. He was on the Montreal Canadiens in the 1980s with Larry Robinson, Bob Gainey, and, you know, come on, big difference, you know? Then with Dave Schultz and Bobby Clark, and, you know, big difference. But the 3 Conn Smythe were well earned. Patrick Roy had an awesome career. He's not the greatest goalie in history, and because number 1, is a runaway, folks. Dominik Hasek is above and beyond the greatest goalie I've ever seen in my lifetime. Hasek would be, I'm telling you, Hasek, even on Detroit, might have been the 2nd greatest goalie I ever seen. I'm telling you, this guy, we're never going to see a goalie like this again. We just never will. We never, ever, ever will. I don't think we'll ever see a goalie in the NHL like Dominik Hasek again. If we ever live to see a goalie this great again, ever, I hope I live to see it. I really do. Because I'll tell you what, there's nobody in this generation. And please don't say Vasilevsky. I mean, good God, he doesn't hold a candle to Dominik Hasek, right? So, all right. 2 cups. Yes, I'll put an asterisk there because I realized, what do you call it? He wasn't in nets for both, but he was part of it. Anybody that argues one, what do you call it, just didn't watch hockey. Sorry. It's not even close. Good God. 2 Hart trophies, 6 Vezinas. This happened Folks, these 2 Hart trophies happen and these 6 Vezinas happen when Patrick Roy and Marty Brader were in their prime, playing against them on better teams, better defensive teams. And Patrick Roy and Marty Brader's average shutouts, something I'm going to throw out there, where I believe it was 19 point something and Patrick Roy was 20 point something. I'll have to find that stat one day and put it up there. Dominic Hasek, I believe, was 33 point something. I seen that statistic one time. It made total sense. And that ends that. But I'll say one thing, okay, about Dominic Hasek in closing. And I didn't do this just because I'm a Sabres fan and I love Hasek and all. No, because, you know, if you look at it, show me one list where I have a Sabre as number 1 in anything. It's the only one you'll see. But what I will say about Dominic Hasek, now this is my memory of Dominic Hasek, it's always going to be. I'd be sitting there watching him do his thing in a game with my brother, you know, and we'd be just saying, good God, like, you know, and he says, I know, like, because he was a goalie, and my brother, I was like the forward, I was like the centerman whenever we'd play hockey, and he was always the goalie. And my brother always respected goaltending, first thing he would spot in a game, you know. And so I remember I'd say to him, this is the memory, the clearest memory I'll have of Hasek. I'd say to my brother, he'll never, ever do that again, ever, ever. And folks, he would do it the next game. And on that, I'll close it out there. That's how I'll always remember Dominic Hasek. Have a great one, folks. I got some videos I got put up today. I hope you enjoyed this. Hope it brought back some good memories. I believe these are the 5 best ever. I don't believe anybody in this era comes close to any of these 5. I just don't. There's nobody, you know. We got some hot shots now, but they wear pads like this wide, and, you know, like, come on. Goaltenders now wear equipment so bloody big, it's ridiculous, you know. And, yeah, it's not even close for me. These 5 just stand out. But I'm not going to say in NHL history, folks, because we also, I get it, we have Terry Sawchuk, right? We have names of the past. We have George Hainsworth. We have names of the past that I can't put them up there because I didn't see them play. These are who I've seen play. Don't forget that, okay? So I'm not saying these are the greatest in NHL history. It's the greatest in NHL history that I've seen, okay? Want to be very clear on that. So what if you say since 1974, whatever, you know? Okay. All right, folks, you have a good one. I'll see you later.